Do you ever feel like someone is watching you, even when you're alone? Tonight, I'm going to tell you 3 true horror stories that will make you question every shadow in your room. These stories are about Rue Wednesday, a girl who is darker and scarier than anyone you have ever seen on TV. If you think you know Wednesday from the show, you are not ready for Rue. She is the secret behind the scariest stories. She is the reason you feel cold at night. And after you hear these stories, you will never forget her face. So, turn off your lights, get comfortable, and listen closely. Because Rue Wednesday is waiting for you, and she loves new friends. Story 1. The painted smile Clara was always the quiet girl in class. She liked to sit at the back, close to the window, where she could look outside and dream. She didn't talk much, but she loved to draw. Her sketchbook was full of dark forests, old houses, and strange faces. But her favorite thing to draw was Wednesday Addams. She watched the Wednesday show every night, and she loved how Wednesday never smiled, never showed fear, and always looked like she knew a secret. One rainy day at school, Clara's art teacher, Ms. Rue, gave the class a new project. "Paint your biggest fear," she said, her voice soft but serious. Some kids laughed and joked about painting spiders or clowns. But Clara felt a chill. She knew exactly what scared her most. It wasn't monsters or ghosts. It was a big, fake, scary smile. The kind of smile that looks wrong, like it's hiding something terrible. Clara started to paint. She used black and gray for the hair, just like Wednesday's. She painted pale skin and dark eyes. But when she got to the mouth, her hand shook. She painted a huge, sharp smile, stretching from ear to ear. The smile looked too big, too sharp, almost like it was cut into the face. When she finished, Clara stared at her painting. It felt like the girl in the picture was staring back at her, the smile almost moving. Clara felt cold all over. She quickly covered the painting with a cloth and tried to forget about it. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the painting. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that smile. She tried to tell herself it was just a picture, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. At midnight, she heard a soft tapping on her window. Tap, tap, tap. Clara sat up in bed, her heart pounding. She looked at the clock. It was exactly 12 house. The tapping got louder. Tap, tap, tap. Clara slowly got out of bed and walked to the window. She pulled back the curtain and gasped. Standing outside in the rain was a girl. She had black hair and 2 braids, pale skin, and a huge, scary smile. The same smile from Clara's painting. The girl pressed her face to the glass. Her eyes were empty, dark holes. Her smile was too big, stretching across her face. She whispered, "Let me in." Her voice was cold and flat, like it came from far away. Clara shook her head, backing away from the window. The girl's smile grew even bigger, almost splitting her face in 2. "Let me in, or I'll paint you next." Clara ran to her parents' room, shaking with fear. She tried to wake them up, but when they came back to her room, the window was closed. The painting was gone. But on the wall, there was a new picture. It was Clara, with that same scary smile. After that night, Clara changed. She stopped painting. She stopped talking. She stopped smiling. She just sat in her room, staring at the wall. Every night, she heard tapping on her window. Tap, tap, tap. Her parents tried to help her, but nothing worked. They took her to doctors, but Clara just stared at them with empty eyes. One day, Clara's mom found her sitting on the floor, drawing on the wall with a red crayon. She was drawing the same smile, over and over again. Her mom tried to stop her, but Clara just kept drawing, her hand moving faster and faster. The wall was soon covered in hundreds of scary smiles. A week later, Clara's best friend Mia came to visit. Mia was worried about Clara. She saw the picture on the wall and asked, "Why do you look so scared?" Clara just stared at her, not saying a word. That night, Mia slept over. She woke up to the sound of whispering. She saw Clara sitting up in bed, staring at the window. Outside, the girl was back. She was smiling, waiting. Mia tried to wake Clara, but Clara wouldn't move. The girl outside started tapping on the glass again. Tap, tap, tap. The sound got louder and louder until it felt like the whole room was shaking. Suddenly, the window cracked. A thin line appeared, then another, and another. The girl's smile grew even wider, stretching across her face. Mia screamed, but no one heard her. The next morning, Mia was gone. On the wall, there was a new picture. Now there were two girls, both with the same scary smile. Clara's parents called the police, but they couldn't find Mia. They searched the whole house, but there was no sign of her. The only thing left was the picture on the wall, and the sound of tapping on the window every night. People in the neighborhood started to talk. They called Clara's house the Smiling House. Kids dared each other to walk past it at night. Some said they saw faces in the windows, all with the same wide, scary smile. Others said they heard tapping on their own windows after walking by. One boy, Sam, tried to take a picture of the house with his phone. When he looked at the photo, he saw a girl with black braids and a huge smile standing right behind him. Sam ran home and never spoke about it again. Now, people avoid Clara's house, but sometimes, late at night, you can still hear tapping on the windows. And if you look closely, you might see a girl with a painted smile, waiting for someone new to join her. But the story of the painted smile is not just about Clara. It's about anyone who lets fear take over. It's about the power of a smile that hides something dark, and it's about Rue Wednesday, who is always looking for her next painting. Story 2. The Blackened Mirror. Jamie was the kind of boy who never liked to stay still. He was always looking for something new, something exciting, something a little bit scary. He loved exploring old places, especially the ones everyone else was too afraid to go near. His favorite show was Wednesday, and he always wished he could be as brave as her. He wanted to solve mysteries, face danger, and never be scared of anything. One cold evening, Jamie and his two best friends, Max and Tyler, were walking home from school. The sky was gray, and the wind was strong. As they passed the edge of town, they saw the old Rue house. The house was big and broken, with boards on the windows and weeds growing everywhere. People said it was haunted, but Jamie didn't believe in ghosts. He wanted to prove he was brave, just like Wednesday. "Let's go inside," Jamie said, his eyes shining with excitement. Max shook his head, but Tyler grinned. "Are you scared, Max?" Tyler teased. Max didn't want to look weak, so he agreed. The three boys climbed through a broken window and landed in a dark, dusty room. The air was cold and heavy. Every step made the floor creak. The house smelled like old wood and something rotten. They walked down a long hallway, their flashlights shaking in their hands. The wallpaper was peeling, and the pictures on the walls were covered in dust. At the end of the hallway, they found a big mirror. It was tall and wide, with a black wooden frame. The glass was so dirty it looked almost black. Jamie wiped the dust away with his sleeve. At first he just saw his own face, pale and nervous. But then, something strange happened. Jamie's reflection started to change. His eyes turned black, like two holes. His hair grew long and dark, just like Wednesday's. And behind him, in the mirror, he saw a woman in black. She had cold eyes and a thin, sharp smile. She looked just like Ms. Rue from the show, but older and scarier. Jamie spun around, but there was no one behind him. He looked back at the mirror. The woman was still there, standing right behind his reflection. "Did you see that?" Jamie whispered. Max and Tyler looked at the mirror, but they only saw themselves. "You're just trying to scare us," Max said, but his voice was shaky. Jamie tried to laugh, but he felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He turned, but there was nothing there. Suddenly, the door at the end of the hallway slammed shut. The boys jumped. The house felt alive, like it was breathing. The shadows on the walls started to move, crawling closer and closer. Jamie tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Let us out," Tyler shouted, banging on the door. But the only answer was a soft, cold laugh coming from the mirror. One by one, Jamie's friends started to disappear. First, Max. He was standing right next to Jamie, but when Jamie turned around, Max was gone. Only his flashlight was left, rolling on the floor. Then Tyler vanished, his scream echoing down the hallway. Jamie was alone. He ran from room to room, calling their names, but the house was silent. The only sound was his own breathing and the soft, cold laugh from the mirror. Jamie ran back to the hallway. The mirror was different now. His reflection was gone. In its place was the woman in black, smiling at him. Her eyes were empty, and her mouth was twisted into a sharp Rue Wednesday smile. Jamie screamed, "Let me out!" He pounded on the glass, but the woman just leaned closer. "You wanted to see the darkness," she whispered. "Now you are part of it." Jamie felt cold all over. He felt himself being pulled into the mirror. He tried to fight, but he couldn't move. The darkness wrapped around him like a blanket. He saw flashes of faces, Max, Tyler, and other kids he didn't know, all trapped inside the mirror, their eyes wide with fear, their mouths twisted into Rue Wednesday smiles. The next morning, the Rue house was empty. No one ever saw Jamie or his friends again. But if you walk past the house at night, you can see faces in the mirror. They press against the glass, their eyes begging for help, their mouths frozen in that scary smile. Some people say the mirror is a door to another world. Others say it's a prison for lost souls. But everyone agrees on one thing. If you ever see a black mirror, don't look too long. Because Rue Wednesday might be waiting for you. But the story of the Blackened Mirror didn't end with Jamie. After the boys disappeared, the house was empty for years. People in the town said the house was cursed. No one wanted to go near it. But one day, a new family moved in. They didn't believe in ghosts or scary stories. Their daughter, Emily, was curious and brave, just like Jamie. Emily found the mirror in the hallway. She liked the way it looked, old and mysterious. She cleaned the glass until it shined. That night, Emily stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair. She saw something move behind her. She turned, but the hallway was empty. When she looked back, her reflection was gone. In its place was a girl with black braids, her eyes empty, her mouth twisted into a Rue Wednesday smile. Emily screamed, but no one heard her. The next morning, the mirror was clean, its surface smooth and clear. But if you looked closely, you could see a new face pressed against the glass, eyes wide with fear, mouth twisted into a Rue Wednesday smile. Emily's parents tried to break the mirror, but it wouldn't crack. They tried to throw it away, but it always came back. At night, they heard whispers coming from the hallway. Sometimes they saw shadows moving in the glass. One night, Emily's mom saw her daughter's face in the mirror, but Emily was nowhere in the house. She called the police, but they couldn't find Emily. The only thing left was the blackened mirror and the feeling that someone was always watching. Now, the house is empty again, but the mirror is still there, waiting for someone new to look. Inside, people say if you see your reflection change, you should run, because Rue Wednesday is always looking for her next friend. But the legend of the Blackened Mirror spread even further. Kids at school started to talk about it. Some dared each other to go to the Rue house at night and touch the mirror. Most ran away before they even got close. But a few were never seen again. One boy, Alex, tried to take a selfie in front of the mirror. When he looked at his phone, he saw a girl with black braids and a huge smile standing right behind him. Alex dropped his phone and ran, but he never spoke about what he saw. Now, everyone in town knows to stay away from the Rue house. But sometimes, late at night, you can still see faces in the mirror, pressing against the glass, waiting for someone to set them free. And if you ever feel a cold hand on your shoulder when you look in a mirror, remember Jamie, Emily, and all the others. Because Rue Wednesday is always watching, and she loves to collect new faces. Story 3. The Dollhouse. Ethan was a boy who loved old things. He liked to visit yard sales and thrift shops with his mom every weekend. He collected toy cars, old books, and strange little statues. But his favorite things were dollhouses. He had 3 already, but he always wanted more. He liked to look inside the tiny rooms and imagine the stories of the little people who lived there. One Saturday, Ethan and his mom went to a yard sale at a house on the edge of town. The house was old and quiet, with big trees and long grass. In the corner of the yard, Ethan saw something that made his heart jump. It was a big wooden dollhouse. It looked just like the Addams family mansion from the Wednesday show. The paint was chipped, and the windows were cracked. But it was beautiful in a creepy way. Ethan begged his mom to buy it. The old woman selling it smiled and said, "Be careful with that one. It's special." Ethan didn't care. He was too excited. He carried the dollhouse to the car, feeling like he had found a treasure. That night, Ethan set up the dollhouse in his room. He opened the tiny doors and looked inside. There were little chairs, a table, a bed, and even a tiny piano. But what caught his eye were the dolls. There were 3 of them. One looked just like Wednesday, with black braids and a pale face. Another was a woman in black, with cold, empty eyes. The third was a little boy with brown hair. Ethan played with the dollhouse every night. He made up stories about the dolls. Sometimes, Wednesday would play the piano. Sometimes, the woman in black would sit in the corner and watch. The boy doll would hide under the bed. But soon, strange things started to happen. Ethan would wake up in the morning and find the dolls in different places. Sometimes the Wednesday doll was standing at the window, looking out. Sometimes the woman in black was gone. Once, Ethan found the boy doll lying on the floor, his face turned to the wall. Ethan asked his mom if she had moved the dolls, but she said no. One night, Ethan woke up to a strange sound. It was like tiny footsteps, moving across the floor. He sat up in bed and looked at the dollhouse. The door was open. The woman in black was missing. Ethan felt a cold breeze on his neck. He turned around and saw nothing. But then he heard a whisper, soft and cold. "Come play with us." Ethan tried to scream, but no sound came out. He felt something cold touch his shoulder. He turned and saw the woman in black standing right behind him. She smiled, but her eyes were empty. She reached out and touched his hand. Ethan felt himself shrinking, getting smaller and smaller. He looked down and saw his hands were hard and white. He was a doll. Inside the dollhouse, the Wednesday doll turned to look at him. The woman in black stood behind her, smiling. The next morning, Ethan's mom found the dollhouse on the floor. Inside, there was a new doll. It looked just like Ethan, and it had Rue Wednesday's smile. Ethan was never seen again. His mom called the police, but they couldn't find him. The only thing left was the dollhouse, sitting quietly in his room. His mom tried to throw it away. But every time she did, it came back. She tried to burn it, but the fire went out as soon as it touched the wood. She gave it to a neighbor, but the neighbor's daughter disappeared too. Every time someone new played with the dollhouse, a new doll appeared inside, always with the same wide, scary smile. A few weeks later, Ethan's cousin Lily came to visit. She found the dollhouse in Ethan's room and started to play with it. She noticed the dolls looked strange, their faces twisted into wide, unnatural smiles. That night, Lily woke up to the sound of tiny footsteps. She looked over and saw the dolls moving on their own, their heads turning to look at her. The next morning, Lily was gone. Inside the dollhouse, there was a new doll, a girl with Lily's face, her mouth twisted into a Rue Wednesday smile. The story of the dollhouse spread through the town. Kids whispered about it at school. Some said if you listened closely at night, you could hear tiny voices calling your name. Others said the dolls would move if you watched them long enough. One boy, Ben, dared his friend to touch the dollhouse. Ben laughed and poked the roof. That night, Ben had a nightmare about a woman in black chasing him through endless rooms. When he woke up, he found a tiny scratch on his hand, just like the dolls had. Now, the dollhouse sits alone in an empty room. People say if you ever find a dollhouse that looks like the Addams family mansion, you should never touch it. Look inside. Count the dolls. If you see one that looks like you, run. Because once you enter the world of Rue Wednesday, you may never escape. But the story doesn't stop there. Years later, the house where Ethan lived was sold. The new family had a little girl named Sophie. She found the dollhouse in the attic and brought it to her room. That night, Sophie's mom heard her talking to someone. When she opened the door, Sophie was sitting in front of the dollhouse, whispering to the dolls. "They want me to play with them," Sophie said, her eyes wide and strange. The next morning, Sophie was gone. The only thing left was the dollhouse, and inside, a new doll with Sophie's face, smiling that same Rue Wednesday smile. The family moved away, and the house was empty again. But the dollhouse stayed, waiting for the next child to find it. Some say the dollhouse is cursed, that it traps the souls of children who play with it. Others say it's just a story, a warning to keep kids away from strange things. But if you ever find a dollhouse that looks just like the Addams family mansion, be careful, because Rue Wednesday is always waiting for her next friend. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more true scary stories. Share your own creepy story in the comments below. Maybe you have seen something strange, or maybe you have your own Rue Wednesday story to tell. I read every comment, and who knows, your story could be the next one I share. Thank you for listening. Sleep well tonight, if you can. And remember, if you hear tapping on your window, or see a face in your mirror, or find a doll that looks just like you, don't be afraid. Just remember her name, Rue Wednesday. Good night, and don't forget to check behind you.